Hey, fellow traveler. Welcome to the Third Eye Awakening podcast, a show where we talk all about spiritual and psychic awakening, magic, the shift from 3D to 5D, star seeds, ascension, multiple timelines, multiple dimensions, the universe, the multiverse, the Akashic records, all the good things. I am your host, Amy Belair, and I'm so glad to have you here with me today. Okay, let's do this. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Third Eye Awakening. I have Sabrina with me here today, and she's going to talk to us about her spiritual journey, like her finding her soul purpose, her spiritual awakening, and how that has impacted her life and what she does with herself now. So welcome, Sabrina. Thank you for being here.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
So Sabrina is a soul alignment coach who activates female entrepreneurs onto their next right steps in their soul mission. She's originally a Californian, but Sabrina currently lives in Washington State in the US with her husband, her dog, her cat, and she's preggo to the max with her first baby.
So it's awesome. Yeah, to the max.
Yeah.
That 39 weeks. 39 weeks. Oh my gosh.
Exactly. Just like waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Seriously. Yeah, it is really exciting. And I'm also just really impatient. So all of the things.
You and all mothers out there everywhere. Actually, as a midwife, I met a very small percentage of women at the end of their pregnancy who were like, it's cool. Like, I'm not fussed about it. Most of them are like, oh, when's it going to happen? And
yeah.
Over all the symptoms and excited to meet the person.
I'm so excited. I feel like all the prep I've done, my house is ready, everything is ready. I'm like, okay, now we just need the baby.
What a nice feeling. Well, I hope that you're kicking back and enjoying your autonomy, let's say.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember that this is the last few days of this life. It's going to change drastically. That's so right. Just remembering to take in the moments for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so Sabrina, that was your official bio, but why don't you tell us in your own words, who you are and basically just how you got to be here. I think it's really cool that you help to activate female entrepreneurs and figure out, I'm assuming, how to move away from just pure strategy and more into really creativity and soul aligned, inspired, business development.
Yes. So that is, like I said, it's super recent that I've changed into this new title. I was a mindset coach for over a year when I first started my business. That was kind of my identity, and mindset is still so important to what I do, but it's evolved. So I have since June, it was the summer, and also throughout this pregnancy, I feel like I've just rebirthed myself. I was really struggling with feeling really misunderstood in the coaching space. I felt like I was out of the loop, felt like I was always behind. I was trying to catch up. I was taking programs just because I was like, oh, this feels like I just need it. I don't know what to do. What's the next thing? What's the next big thing? Hurling myself into investments that I was like, well, I got to invest or, I won't succeed. And I was feeling all this pressure, so much pressure. And I was feeling really disconnected from what I was selling, what I was saying, and feeling just lost. And I was like, okay, something needs to shift. And I was currently reading Gabby Bernstein's book, The Universe Has Your Back. Mm-hmm. Have you read that one?
No, I haven't, but I know it's on my list.
It's amazing. It's really great. So I was reading that, and she's talked about, obviously the universe supporting you and Kundalini meditations, which were really cool. So I was doing that. I was doing kind of a program and working my way through this book. And I started really connecting with this soul connection and tapping into this creativity that's within you and this inner knowing where you're trusting yourself again. And that was a big part of what I had lost. I wasn't trusting myself. I was people pleasing to the max. I was feeling so stressed out and hustle mode. And I was wondering what the disconnect was. And that was the disconnect. I wasn't trusting myself anymore. So as I worked through this, as I meditated and tried these things to really connect with my soul, I found such a a positive feeling of being called back to myself, called back to who I was, called back to this home in myself. And I started to strip away like a lot that wasn't serving me. I was being called to like let go of a coach that I was working with, like take, let go of some programs, let go of like what I thought I should be doing, and really go back to me. And it was a good like 4 months of me just like shedding a lot of what wasn't working. And I was trying different things too. I was like, well, maybe I should be a business coach, and like thinking about those things too. But the whole time I was connecting with my soul every day. And this can look like anything for anyone, but for me, it was meditation. And very much like I call it now, just coined the term myself, just the mind noise of like just everything that you've consumed, everything that you're being told, everything that is inundating you from media and things like that. You're just like clearing your mind and getting rid of the mind noise and tuning into like this really pure part of your soul that's like it really wants to speak to you. And it can be really easy, but it does take practice, which I actually, in August, I joined a mastermind that was all about channeling, which was so cool. I really kind of threw myself in the spiritual deep end, because I was like, there's something here. Like, I felt like I was peeking through the door, and I was like, is this for me? And so I like talked to a coach, and I joined her mastermind, and it was like all about channeling and very much like that deep activation meditations. And I was like, whoa, this is next level. And I actually really enjoyed it. And I found that it was eye-opening to myself. I was seeing myself in a new light. I was seeing my journey in a new light. I was seeing how I could create in a really, really fun, connected way that felt like super, super good. It didn't feel like I was just creating something because I was good at it. I was creating something that I was meant to share. Like, it was all like lining up perfectly. So I created a signature program, Soul Guided, which is my signature program right now, that's self-paced. And it's all about my journey, basically, how to connect with your soul, how to trust yourself, how to find your soul purpose in this world, which is my journey. So that's a little bit of the beginning of it all.
Yeah, I love that. I love so much of what you said. And I relate so much because I just went into business for myself last year. Like, I left my career as a midwife for a whole bunch of reasons
Mm-hmm.
that I won't get into, but I know exactly what you mean about that pressure you were feeling, and that feeling of like, it's just a scarcity feeling that
Mm-hmm.
you don't have some missing piece of the puzzle, that you have
Yeah.
to invest in this program, you have to learn from this person, blah 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 blah. So, and I know exactly what you mean, even though I left for the purposes of following my soul. Once you get into it, it just activates all of the scarcity shit you have inside of you
Mm-hmm.
anyway, right? And I think
Mm-hmm.
it's such an eddy that we can all get stuck in, and that feeling of like somebody else has some, key understanding that I don't have, and I have to keep investing and keep investing and learn from these other people. But the truth is, like, we all carry it, we contain it within ourselves. It's there.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that you mentioned meditation, because I think that it's so commonly sort of touted as the first step into soul connection
Yeah.
and well-being and all that people are like, wow, 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 meditation, like, yeah, 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 and they just want to skip it. And they
Mm-hmm.
try it a couple times and they're like, I can't get my mind to stop, and they give up. But there's a reason it's touted, because it's so powerful, and you have to create that space
Mm-hmm.
for the voice of your soul to speak to you, whatever that sounds like or looks like or feels like or whatever. So I love that you mentioned that and how powerful it has been for you.
It is so powerful. And I have a lot of friends too. Like, you're like, oh yeah, I can't clear my mind. They're like, I'm always thinking. Like, I'm always thinking. I'm an
Yeah,
overthinker.
all are.
I'm a worrier. Like, this has helped me. The reason I went to meditation in the beginning, like I've been meditating for years, but like a lot of it was anxiety and things like that. I was trying to calm my heart and my mind. And then seeing it in this different way of connecting to my soul, I was like, oh my gosh, like it's connecting to your intuition. like is connecting to this part of you that just knows the answers, and you don't have to rely on this outside influence to tell you one way or the other. Like, it's in you. Other people can confirm it, other people can like ignite it, other people can support you, but like it comes from you first. And that was a big thing. And I quit my job in June too, so this was like the over upheaval too. I understand all of that. I was a teacher for 5 years and like very much in the hustle, hustle, hustle. So going from that to being like straight up just entrepreneur, designing my own life was almost like crazy. Like, it was scary because I didn't know what to do. Yeah. And I was like, okay, like I all of a sudden thought like, if I quit my job, my business will boom, you know, and things like that. And I had all these like expectations. And so it was really scary to jump in the deep end and not know what to do. So this journey of connecting my soul came at the perfect time, because it was like a comfort that I was growing despite not having like the traditional salary job and things like that. I was still moving towards my dreams. And obviously, you know, it's the pandemic and like I'm pregnant. It was like all of these things sort of aligned. And I was like, okay, like this is the time to really like step back and connect with myself. And the biggest thing with like meditation and soul connection and all of that is like, once you find that voice, it's like you have to continue connecting and you have to act on that voice. That's a big thing I teach in my work with female entrepreneurs is like, yes, let's teach you how to hear it and just respond and work with it, but also like take action based on that, whatever's coming through. Like, take action on the healing, take action on like what it's calling you to say, like what you are meant to bring into this world, whether that be a program or coaching or whatever it might be. Like, the more you take action, the louder that voice will become, and the more trust and confidence you'll build with yourself. And that's how I felt like, you know, doing this program. I had never led meditations before. I never done activations before. I was like, I never thought myself as like a spiritual person up until this point, and I was really redefining that. And so it was scary. But once I just did it, it just came so intuitively. And I was like, okay, this is what I meant to do. And that's what led to me like basically changing and really uphauling my whole business and being like, I'm a soul alignment coach now. Let me explain to you what that means, because I kind of made that up. But it really is about helping people get to their soul mission and be like, this is what you're meant to do. This is what you're meant to bring in the world. And it's supposed to feel really, really good and not forced and not pressured, just ease and flow and just so much love in that. So I'm really excited to like really deep dive into this part of my business.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So is your program that you've created, your signature program, would you say that it's like an entry point for people for whom this is really new, that they can learn how to connect with that, that inner knowing? Which, by the way, like, I love that you refer to it as like coming home, because it really is a homecoming. It's like, oh fuck, this was there all along. It was there
Yes.
all along, and I have all the answers, and I don't. It's such a great feeling when you tap into it, because it's like, I no longer have to like mad search through, Instagram or listening to podcasts or like try and figure out who has the answer. I have the answer.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is so true. And then soul guided, yeah, it is an entry point. Like, very much it is like the beginning of it all. When you know that there's more out there, you're like, I know I want to connect to this part of me and I'm interested in the spirituality aspects, but I don't know how. Like, it very much teaches you how to discover the way you connect. And it might not be meditation, it might be dance, it might be drawing, it might be writing. Like, there's so many ways to connect with soul. And I utilize a lot of them. But like, it is about stripping back the mind noise and coming back to your soul. So every single module kind of builds on itself, builds on that soul trust, builds on that decision making with your soul, and like everything builds on each other. So you get to the end and you're like, okay, this is my soul mission. This is what I'm meant to bring into the world. Maybe it's super, super clear. Maybe it's like the beginning and the starting point, but you have something you continue to work on, and a practice is set for you. And like, you've kind of integrated it already, so you can continue working with it. Like, I'm still developing my connection to my soul. I'm still like working on it, and it's still an everyday thing. And some days feel really, really connected. And some days I'm like, vaguely I'm getting something like, you get more of a feeling, but it's about that continued practice, and it builds and it grows and it gets stronger. So yeah, that's what Soul Guide is it about. And I love that program so much. It was so exciting and amazing to make. And I feel like everyone needs to do it. Everyone needs to like take some time, step back and connect with their soul, because it just makes it so much easier to like work in this world and to be and flow and trust yourself. That's the biggest thing, trusting yourself.
Absolutely. It sounds like a really beautiful, magical, and like really nurturing program. And so I'm curious, what is when you say soul, what does soul mean to you?
When I say soul, I do think of it as a part of myself, but I've also been, as my journey is progressing, I'm also like connecting with spirit and like my spirit team as well. So it's ever evolving for me. But the beginning, I felt like it was just like this part of me that was untouched by the conditioning of the world, the hurt, the pain wasn't there. It was like I was coming back to this sort of inner child like pureness that was like, if I was living and working in the world as if this other stuff hadn't impacted me, hadn't thrown me off course, this is the truth. Like is like this inner truth. And that's why I felt like I trusted it so much, because it was, and it's the, you know, obviously like 3D 5D reality. I feel like it was a 5D me that was like, this is pure now. Like this is unimpacted by the 3D world, and very much like connected to that abundance, connected to that success, connected to that just like flowing love. And that was huge. And especially in my work with Gabby Bernstein's book, like connection to universe, connection to love, like it's ever flowing, ever giving, never stopping. And that's how I see it. And that's how I love like to connect with it so much and to feel into that space, because it's always there. It's always there within me. Like it's always something I can tap into when I feel anxious, when I feel like scatterbrained and like, oh my God, what am I doing? Like I can tune into this place of just pure clarity and just like calm. It's very much this calming sense of coming back home. Like I said, like it's calling me back home to like this pure, like this is where you're meant to be. Like stay strong, like you got this. Like this cheerleader but in within me, but also like this guide. So that's why I soul guided. Yeah. So
Yeah, that's beautiful. It's like the part of you that sees through the 3D illusion, that can be in the
mhm.
3D illusion, but sees beyond it, basically.
Yeah.
That's gonna serve you so much in childbirth. I'm so excited for you.
Oh, I'm so excited. I know, like very much mindful of all of that. And I'm glad I've been taking this time to really connect with my soul and my body too. I feel like it's going to help me so much in childbirth and like beyond my intuition, you know, taking care of a kid and being inundated with all of the do's and don'ts. I'm like, okay, strip back. What do I really feel
Yeah.
is right?
Oh my gosh, I know this is not what we had planned to talk about, but I'm a midwife for life, so we're just gonna talk about it. But yes, I just feel like that is the thing, is like going into motherhood or parenthood, whether it's your first baby or another baby that you're adding to your family, you have to, it's so important to default to your own intuition all the time.
Mhm.
You and your baby are connected. You're already psychically linked. It's like part of our survival hardwiring, and all those external do's and don'ts. Everybody has opinions. It's just noise, and just like
Mhm.
it's so amazing, so fortuitous that you've been cultivating that for yourself as you embark on this new chapter of your life. It's really, really, really.
Yeah. And as a first time mom, obviously I do have the jitters. So I'm like, say, but it's also like taking it with a grain of salt and being like, okay, yes, these are experienced mothers, but I know that I can do it my own way. Like I'm meant to be this baby girl's like mother, like for a reason. I know what's best for her. And it's all gonna be okay. So when I don't know what to do, it's like, where do I turn inward, like rather than outward? So very much remembering that I have the answers. The magic is within me. That's what I
Oh,
feel
no.
like. That's what I feel like with soul. It's like the magic is within you. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't take programs or you shouldn't have mentorship and coaching and things like that. But when something comes into your world that is aligned with that soul, like it feels like just an amplification of your own like magic, of your own just amazingness, and that person is helping you and supporting you and guiding you towards your soul mission, rather than telling you like random things like spaghetti on the wall. Like I felt like I had coaches like that were like, I don't know, try this. I don't know, try this. Because they didn't understand me, or they didn't understand my mission. And I didn't get my mission either. So it was like, we're both confused. And I didn't like, that wasn't productive. Right. So when you do find that soul aligned mentorship, like it is still very profitable to like invest when it is that calling, that inner calling of, this is going to amplify my voice rather than take over my voice.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really appreciate this conversation because I think about it a lot. And I think like, yeah, I mean, how do you distinguish between, or help somebody to understand the difference between investing from a place of like, I don't have the answers and I need to outsource for it, versus, oh, something in this is calling me. Like there's something here for me. And I really liked earlier you used the words like, something in the external world can ignite it for you. And I love that because I feel like that's so true. It's kind of like, all of the material to light the fire exists within you, and something that you experience in your external world can like, be the spark that creates the flame, but you're still the flame is still in you. And yeah, for me, when it's investing in something that feels in alignment, it feels like, oh, like so exciting, like I'm giving myself a gift. Like it feels like Chris, like I'm like, woohoo, like I'm so excited for this thing. Like it feels like money well spent. Like there's just no question. Whereas last year when I was investing from a place of more like, basically it was like, oh my God, I'm leaving my job. I don't know how I'm going to make money. These people make money. I have to learn from them how to make money. And yeah, and it just it didn't end up being like fruitful in some investments because I was outsourcing my power basically, and assuming somebody has, well, I mean, people do have a perspective that we don't have, but it's kind of when you feel like, oh my God, it's missing in me. I have to find it from somebody else, versus like, oh, I really like the way this person frames things. And I can feel it activating something in me, and this feels good and this feels right. How does it feel for you now? The difference between investing in those, the coaches that didn't really understand your mission or what you were getting at, versus investments that you're making now, like the channeling mastermind, for example. Like what was the different feeling for you between those experiences?
I think the difference was, yes, I wasn't going into being like this person is going to fill this hole within me. Like they're going to give me an answer that's going to like solve things for me. Like I was coming into those investments going like, I have an issue, like I'm somehow flawed, I'm somehow like behind. I was coming into it with this really scarcity like mindset, this lack mindset. And so when I would go into those things, I would think that they know all, and I would be like, well, I would put them on a pedestal, and I would take the information and try to apply exactly the way they did it, the way I should do it. And it just kept feeling more disconnected and more disconnected. And I kept feeling like I wanted to pull away and do my own thing. And I'm a manifestor in human design. If you know human design, like I need to do it my freaking own way. So like that was so like telling to me. And like, and I was in these masterminds, people that just wanted to be kind of like, they didn't want to be cookie cutter. They were all doing their own thing, but they seemed like they were all in the same group, and I was outside of it. And that was the kind of the key telling point with that. I was like, this is not where I want to be. I need to separate myself from this. And that felt scary too, because I was like, well, that's where I've been for the last like over a year. I've been in these spaces. I've been in these masterminds. I've been in these programs where it's like, learn, get better, get better. And I was like, now I want to leave that. Like, where am I supposed to go? And then when I discovered this coach that was doing like this channeling mastermind, I originally talked to her about breath work, and she was like, well, I have this mastermind. And she just talked to me about like my mission, what I was stepping into, and how I was trusting myself again. And she's like, this is a space for you to discover your own self. This is not me ever telling you what to do. This is about you discovering yourself and me just creating the space for that. And that resonated with me, that like giving the space and not necessarily telling, but like having them discover. And that's what I do as a soul alignment coach. I'm not ever giving somebody like oh, this is what I think you should do with your soul mission. Like they are discovering for themselves, and I can confirm, I can support, I can intuitively guide and be like, oh, I think there's some more you can dig deep here, but I'm never telling them what to do, because that doesn't feel good to me to tell people what to do. So the 1, 2, 3 step. So in the mastermind, and even like now I have a one-to-one coach that I feel so much more aligned with, like they understand like this is my new identity, this is what I'm stepping into, and they give me prompts, they give me like openness, they give me the advice, but not ever like this is what you need to do. It's like here is a way to activate what you're already bringing to the table. Your magic is already flourishing. Here's a way to continue opening and opening and opening, and releasing a lot of like conditioning, a lot of limiting beliefs, a lot of things that I know like in my mind, like I don't want to believe this, but I have to like really do the heart work and the soul work. And that's where the mindset work comes in, and where all of that self work comes in. And I really appreciate that, because it's like, it's not them telling me this is what you need to be successful, get it together, get on board. It's like they're working with me to be like, this is your mission. Let's make it better. Let's make it flourish. Let's make it abundant for you, so that you can do whatever you want to do. You can live the life. You can become a new mother, and your business will just be there and be amazing because you're living your truth. So that's what the difference. It's almost like a freedom rather than I'm the student and they're the teacher kind of aspect.
Yeah. And it sounds too, as you describe it, like it's just the difference between a really like yang masculine approach where it's very like do, like linear thinking strategy, very kind of like 3D. And then versus like going within and cultivating what's within, and just sort of like letting go of the desire to wrangle it into like plans, like a plan, and just like let it unfold, and you just be along for the ride with like joy and curiosity and engagement and participation, and just like, yeah, really enjoy the ride basically of the unfolding. And then in that sense, like a business, even the word business sometimes doesn't feel like the right fit for me, because it's just like a natural expression of your soul mission. It's not really like, it doesn't feel as structured as a business. It just feels like this is just how I be and who I am and what I'm here for, which is the beautiful part.
And explaining it to like the regular Joe Schmo, you're like, oh, it's my life, and I live it and I share about it, and people pay me. Yeah. Done. Like, it's like, you can't put it into words for someone who isn't on that level. 'Cause you're like, well, it's a new way of being. It's a new paradigm. It's a new job description. There's no job. It's just like life and business like are together. And that's how I feel like it should be. Like, I don't want to feel like I'm working. I want to feel like I'm just sharing my experience, and I'm getting really amped and really like excited about it. And people are like, oh my gosh, I want to be part of that too. And like, then we roll. Like, so that's the exciting part of it. And the business coach didn't really resonate with me either, which is why I'm like so happy that I discovered this new title, because I'm like, this makes sense. This is what I've been doing myself. This is what I'm helping people do. Like, it's simple when it was said like that. And like, I've been going through an overhaul, even just my business, like preparing for baby, but also being like, what do I want to focus on that feels really, really good? And what do I want to pause or let go of for right now, and decide like it's going to change, and not having all the answers right away. That's a big thing. Like, I know that like motherhood is going to change my life, and I'm obviously defining myself as a soul alignment coach, but I'm also like, how am I going to continue to show up while also leading myself in as a mother? And part of that is focusing on what's really important in my business and letting go of what's not. And it's a huge opening of space. And I think people need to realize that like, they don't have to do all the things. Like I have a podcast, I have a group, I have, all the social medias, and like, I felt like I had to show up. And now I'm like, okay, I can pause the podcast. I can let go of the group for right now. I can focus in on what really is aligning with me. And that took some soul action, took some soul, like, yes, I needed to connect with that part of me that was like, do it. Like, you need to make this space, because something beautiful is going to fill that space. Obviously a baby, but also like the next level of who I'm meant to step into. So I just think as entrepreneurs, like we don't have to do all of it. You can do one or two things really, really well and focusing on that. And aligning with your soul really helps shed all that unnecessary things and come back to the truth and the purity of it all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. And to me, it's like when you were saying like something is going to fill this space, it's just like you are going to fill the space, but it's going to be more
Mm-hmm.
authentic you. Like you're just going to flow and fill up the space that you've created in a way that is so true to you and therefore so magnetic and so impactful
Mm-hmm.
in the world because it's in alignment, like you said, with your soul and with your mission and what I see it as like codes, like we all of us, even the people with like the lowest self-worth and just like living the roughest lives, we all carry codes of like a piece of a frequency of the truth that like impacts others and activates others on
Mm-hmm.
levels that we don't even understand. And really all this is about is just shedding all that programming that makes us feel like we need to do all the things or that we need to be in a career that's unfulfilling or a job that's unfulfilling or whatever, all the insane things that we've been taught we have to do so that we can bring those codes to the surface. And they exist anyway and they emanate out of us anyway just by default. But what a beautiful thing when you can like have an awareness that you are bringing something to the table, and the more you return to the truth of who you are, the more potently it shines.
Yes, that potency is what I strive for. What I'm really, really working on in myself is just how to be more potent in my message and what I'm sharing, and how to, strip back the things that don't matter and get to the bold truth of it all. And that connects people, that draws people in, that makes your natural magneticness just more powerful when you are like, okay, this, I'm going to get rid of all these things that don't matter and focus on the one thing that I know does and are the a few things that I know really speak to me and really fill my heart with just so much love and joy, and just it's overflowing this message out of me. And that's where I think we need to come back to as entrepreneurs. Like, why are you doing this? What did it do for you, and how are you imparting that to the world? Like, it's that simple.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. And was this your very first sort of like spiritual awakening sort of experience? Or did you have any like previously and this was the next step? Or was this like the first, like, oh crap, I think I'm a soul. I think I'm more than all of this conditioning. And yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I grew up Christian. So like I very much like in high school, I, connected with God, and, that kind of thing was kind of a spiritual awakening. And then like I went through sort of a lot of changes in college and things like that and sort of fell away from that. But I've thought about it, like I'm sort of coming back to God in a different context, but almost like a wider, more like less restraints context. That's what I feel like with spirit and in the spiritual world. Like I'm still feel like God is present, but it's like this bigger spiritual realm that I'm exploring as well. So I think that was helped me kind of be more open to spirituality because I had that background. But this was kind of the first thing. I had never really felt super, like I had followed people that talked about spirituality, and I was like, I don't know, like kind of like maybe, but the first, those Kundalini meditations and all of that, like were the first like beginnings of, oh my gosh, this could be something igniting for me and like really, really powerful for me. And I didn't even expect to go into teaching it, but it just kind of flowed that way. And I was like, this is next level. And like obviously like I was a little bit scared. I was like, okay, I used to be this Christian, now I'm like talking about like spirit and soul and all of these things, and it felt weird at first, but the more I shared, the more I like opened up, the less weird it became, and the more normal and more like fulfilling it felt, because I stopped caring what people thought. And like it was like, this lights me up, like I'm going to keep talking about this. And that's just kind of evolved into where I am now. So I didn't have like a specific spiritual like experience before this, besides being a Christian and having that God connection as a teenager. and then kind of circled back around. I feel like I'm circled back around to like this new awakening in this level of spirituality. And I'm still learning. I'm still like soaking it up. I'm still like growing. And I love it so much because it's just connecting me back to me. I just feel like every part of it is like true soul connection. Like it's who I really am. And I'm shedding a lot of that conditioning so much easier because I'm seeing this truth, you know. I'm not trying to dig it at and try to like discover what the truth is. Like I see it and I'm like unveiling the layers just so I can get it more and more clear to me and who I am so other people can see it too.
Yeah, I love that. I'm running a 5D magic manifestation course right now, and one of the
Oh, I love it.
lessons is called I am the prize, because it's like when you realize like, oh, like I am the big prize, and like connecting with myself and my own power is like
Mm-hmm.
the most satisfying part of all of this. Well, that's really cool because I recently got a request from somebody who listens to the podcast, was feeling like she wanted to also hear from some people who are on the very beginning of their spiritual awakening journey path. And so I've been doing some interviews like that. But it's really cool to hear that it also can accelerate really fast. Like if you're just ready for it and you just embrace it, you just
Yeah.
follow it, like it can really unfold for you in a fast way. And it sounds like the thing that you were already really good at, that you cultivated through your mindset work and your own journey with like anxiety and all the other things, is that the understanding of like the need to take action on
Yeah.
the thing that is, it's not taking action from like a really overly masculine energy or like linear energy, but it's more like taking action. Like if I just sit and think about it forever, my life won't change. Whereas if I think about it, feel about it, and do about it, then I experience the change. So it's really cool to hear that it
Mm-hmm.
was like actually a fairly recent thing for you, but also it's like bloomed in like, you know.
Rapidly.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, like that openness. It was like an openness to this new world. Like I went into the mastermind and they were using all of these terms, 5D, all these I'd never heard of before, but I had just been I just was open to it. And I was like, okay, like just being like, okay, and like what's next? And just like soaking it in and not putting limitations or judgments on it. I think that can happen sometimes when people go into spiritual program or something, like they read something, they're like, oh, but they're trying to use their own definitions to make it make sense. And that in this aspect I was like kind of just like a brand new beginner's mindset to it all, like, and that made me, I think, more receptive to the actual change. And so when I was able to get those intuitive downloads, it felt like, whoa, like all of a sudden, like whoosh, I knew what my program was. Whoosh, I knew like the modules. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I would have never thought of that on my own. Like I knew it wasn't me. I knew it was my soul, because it was like scary. Even I was like, I'm a mindset coach. What? Like, you want me to teach about soul? Like, and so, but I knew that like when I have that idea, when it's coming from this pure part of me, I had to take the action. And that was where the manifestor sort of initiating sort of really helped me, because I was able to like
Mhm.
book a photo shoot and do all the things and be like, okay, I don't know how it's going to go, but I'm just going to trust that like this is the right path. And it's led me to like the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. And then like, yeah, very rapidly, I've changed a whole lot about who I am and my business, but it feels effortless and feels easy and it feels right, because I just I didn't need to know the outcome at the end. I just needed to trust the steps. That's why I help female entrepreneurs find the next right steps, because it's not about seeing the big picture at the end. I can have a dream, but my dream can always change. Who knows what it's going to be like at the end? But I know the next steps for me, they feel really aligned. I mean, the next steps for me feel really soul called. Like I'm like, this, obviously this is the next step. It's not like I need to know the whole big picture. I trust the picture is going to unfold as it should be. And yeah, that's the amazing, amazing thing. Just that openness to whatever it may be. I think when you're coming into that spiritual journey, whoever is listening, if they're new, if they wanted to start, just be open to whatever happens. It's beautiful what can happen.
Totally, absolutely. And just like that willingness to trust yourself, trust your soul guidance, and trust what you're being led to, like what's being brought to you through the podcasts you listen to, or like the people that you follow. When there's a thing that comes to you and it feels like like magic-y, kind of like, yeah, just trusting that and being willing to follow that feeling and see where it leads you without having to know like the outcome. Cool. Well, I don't want to keep you for too long, but I think this is just such a great conversation, really, really valuable for people at all points in their spiritual journey. I have two final questions for you. So the first one is what brought you Gabby Bernstein's book? Like what led to that?
That is interesting. I'm trying to think, how did I get in contact with that? I can't quite know. I know I downloaded her audiobook. I downloaded the audiobook of The Universe Has Your Back. I can't remember. I feel like I might have just heard about it in the circles I was in. People were like, Gabby Bernstein's really great or something like that. And I think there was like some sale on Audible, and I got the book. And then I don't think I touched it for a long time. And then all of a sudden I was like, I would like to listen to this book. And I made it sort of like a morning thing, like part of my morning routine. I was listening to this, like a chapter a day, writing notes. And then she had like little things at the end that you can do with information. And so it almost felt like I was taking a program, which I'm used to, but I was doing it on my own pace and listening to it. And yeah, I think it was just random. I was just like, I think I want to read this book now. And it just turned out it was like exactly what I needed at that time to really open up this part of me. So yeah, like I recommend her stuff for sure. I think it's a great jumping off point for your own journey, especially if you connect with her story, which is powerful. But yeah, that's great. I don't really understand how I decided to download it, but I'm glad I did.
Yeah. And for anybody that was listening to you talk about the channeling and breathwork coach, who is that, if you feel comfortable sharing, in case anybody's like, ooh, a channeling?
Yes. Wow. So that was Shannon Rose.
Oh yeah.
She is out of New Zealand. Yeah. She's amazing. She's a like breathwork facilitator plus crystalline channel. And her mastermind I took was the crystalline mastermind, which she's still running now. So people can jump into that. It's amazing. Like, it was eye-opening to me. I think even as a spiritual newbie, it wasn't too much. It wasn't like, I felt like it was a good amount of like connection between 3D and 5D. Like she explained everything so well. Like I had a lot of questions. She answered them really well. Like the other people in there that were much more like vibing on this lingo than I was. I didn't feel out of place. I felt like I could be on their level. It was very open and very welcoming. So I appreciated that.
That's amazing. Yeah. She has a really beautiful energy. I follow her on Instagram as well.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I'm so appreciative of your time. Just before we go, will you let the listeners know where they can find you? And it'll be included in the show notes, but just in case they're lazy and they just want to hear it.
Yes. So you can find me on Instagram. I'm Sabrina Journey. It's Haesche. Nice German last name. And then obviously Facebook as well as Sabrina Journey. Those are the two main places I hang out. And you can follow me in my journey and follow me when I have this baby. So I'm really excited to share all the things.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sabrina. Thank you for sharing your perspective and your journey with us. We really appreciate it. And of course, listeners, as always, you know that I love it if you take a screenshot of yourself listening to this episode and post it to your favorite social media and tag Sabrina and I, because it just lets us know that you're listening and it gives us so much love and encouragement to keep going and keep sharing. So we love it when you do that. Thank you so much. And I hope everybody has a great day or night wherever you are. Catch you on the next episode.
Thank you so much for being here with me on this episode. I appreciate you more than my words could ever say. Please remember to rate, review, subscribe, and share, and I will catch you on the next episode.